Thursday Night Football is back, and it's only on Prime Video. This week, the Washington Commanders take on the Green Bay Packers with both teams determined to prove their worth. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with football's best party, TNF Tonight, presented by Verizon. Not a Prime member? Not a problem. Simply sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's the Commanders and the Packers, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Prime Video. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.
Chase, the elephant in the room, the worst loss in program history. I'm ripping the Band-Aid just straight off.
Yeah, you had that one in the pocket, huh? The elephant in the room. That was good. I appreciate it.
See, I'm not that smart enough to realize that's what I said there, Chase.
It was good, though. Tibbs, you didn't have to discredit yourself. It was good. Yeah, worst loss. And, I mean, dude, it felt like it from the get-go.
But 73-0. Okay, great. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. This is a nationally ranked team, a team that was absolutely lividly pissed that they lost their opener to an unranked Florida State team. All the talk this week about 2007 and everything in between. It wasn't going to be a fair fight, no matter what, because Bama was going to be focused. They were not going to be asleep in this game and sleepwalk through it. They weren't going to do anything that possibly let ULM be in this game to possibly pull the upset off. Kalen DeBoer coaching his ass off to save his job, rightfully so. And then for whatever reason, defensive coordinator Kane Womack, the governor, I don't know why he hates ULM. Maybe it's me, but he's got something about ULM, and he stuck it to us on the defensive side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. 73-0 is brutal, and it's a rough score to look at. And like I said, the worst loss in ULM FBS history, and it really sucks. And their best win since 1951. And I think that's good for DeBoer, whatever you say it. It's good for his resume. But, dude, Coach Vincent said it at the post-game show with me or at the post-game question I asked, that it was an ass whooping, dude. And unfortunately, I don't think it's good representation for the school, but also don't think it's a full representation of what ULM football this year looks like.
You were there firsthand. I was watching online. I've dug and dug and dug, trying to make sense of it, trying to find the bright out of there. The best thing I can say is that I don't think the offensive line allowed a sack in the game.
That's true.
Which speaks heavy of probably one of the more motivated defenses that we'll see this year. Sure. Relatively healthy. I know there were a couple injuries that happened that you reported about during the broadcast, but relatively healthy going into a bye week. I think that we still show that Mackenzie Ryan is the down under outlaw there with his clothesline tackle. I love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. As a specialist, anytime a specialist gets a tackle and one that's legal and SportsCenter highlight worthy, I love it.
Dude, what? You're right. That's two good takeaways. I'm glad, Tibbs. I've been so down about it. But, I mean, what a tackle by the Austin. I walked up to him, in the middle of the game, and I said, hey, man, that was awesome. Thanks for being in Monroe, which is something I tell a lot of those players. And, the sack thing was big. I think they had, obviously, a very big defensive line. They had, what I was more impressed about their defense was how fast they were. I've always felt like usually the ones-to-ones when you play these big schools, in most programs, you'll see them really expand that lead in the third, fourth quarter. I know that didn't happen last night to ULM, but for the most part, I feel like a lot of – like if you take 8 of the ones that ULM has and then all 11, I feel like 8 all the 11s that someone like Bama has or an SEC team has, 7 or 8 of those ULM players really can compete and play and have a good game against or at least a good first half against those SEC players. And I was impressed with our offensive line. I was not impressed with their pass blocking against St. Francis, and I was really glad to see them shore that up. But Bama, let's be honest, Tib, they didn't blitz a lot because they didn't have to blitz a lot. And they sat back a little bit, and they played cover 0 on our own 20. I mean, they had 80 yards behind them, and they didn't care. They knew how fast they were, especially compared to our receivers, and they were well coached going that game. They were really well prepared on defense for who we were and what we wanted to do. And I think that you try to. I don't know how many pros you're going to take out of 73-0. That's a tail whooping, dude. And I think you just try to you try to shore up what you can offensively, and I think you kind of try to go compete within your own league. And I think Charles Huff said this a few weeks ago about Southern Miss. He was like, "We're built to be a good Sun Belt team. We're not built to be a good SEC team. And so if we come in here and make something happen, that's awesome. But if we don't, cool. Thanks for the money."
Yeah, I think the biggest concern that I had actually leaving that game, actually two concerns I have. First one, obviously, being the middle one, right? Is everyone back in the old ULM, woe is us, we suck, we're 136 again and everything else. But to me, the bigger tangible concern I have is on special teams, actually, for the kick return. We have not had to actually return a kickoff in Brian Vincent's tenure. Bama made sure that we had to return kickoffs against them, and we were not good at returning kickoffs.
That's a nuance. I'm impressed you caught, Tibbs, because I don't think a lot of people would realize when he kicked that squib right in the first spot, and I thought, oh no, somebody caught it finally. Because I've always thought it was, never even thought about it. He put people back there that could catch the ball, not necessarily that were burners. I don't know if he has anybody. That sounds so shitty to say, but it's the truth. I don't know if he has anybody that could burn you on kick return, so he puts sure-handed people back there. And we were so shocked and so unprepared for that first squib and the second one and the third one. And then finally, when they got up about 40, they just started kicking it deep. 48, they just started kicking it deep and saying, they put in their backup kicker and let him just boot that thing. But 100% right. But I'm more when I thought about what we're going to talk about tonight, that wasn't what came to my head first off. But it is important that, they dominated all three parts of the game, and that was just a wrinkle to show you how prepared from the kickoff or from their kickoff to us they were for us. I was really concerned about the number of missed assignments we had on defense, the wide open touchdowns, you're taking slants, and they're gonna protect well. We got a decent pass rush there in the third and then early in the fourth quarter, and you kind of switch some guys out. You never know how much stock you should really take in that. But Billy Pullen started to really add some pressure. And early on in that game, though, you're going to have a lack of pressure. Those offensive linemen are fresh. They're obviously incredible. I'd argue a top 2 in college football right now. But what I was really upset was, I think it was the first or second touchdown where the kid just ran a simple in or kind of a slant or kind of a deep slant, whatever you want to call it, whatever route it was. And nobody was within 20 yards of him. And then you saw that happen multiple times throughout the game. And I think that's something that I don't want to say it's coaching, because I think it's too early to say whether that's coaching or not. It could be a player issue. It could be a scheme issue. You don't know quite yet. I'd have to really see that happen multiple times. Regardless, it's a big red flag that we didn't see against St. Francis, but that's because I think we had the athletes to cover St. Francis. Yeah,
and Chase, you've been there. You kind of get your teeth kicked in there, as Vincent said. What are you going through this week? And especially knowing that at least the good thing is you don't have that UTEP game on Saturday to get ready for. You at least get a week off or weekend off, I should say, of game day activities.
I think it helps. And I think usually you use a bye week to get healthy. It sucks to have one this early. But I think it hopefully will help reset a mindset. And you've got to, you talk about, like you said, the mental load of being scared of what happened and how do you move forward. I think you kind of 2 weeks to go get away from it, I think is super helpful. Media's narratives change. There's so much that's going to happen next week that kind of get to fly under the radar, which is something you need to do this week. Because if you played next week, every announcer and every single media person and every person in your life is going to talk about how, well, you did so bad last week. How's it going to go this week? What are you looking at? And, those conversations die out over a certain amount of time, and that's usually about a week. And so I think it's a good thing mentally for them. The only tough part I'm going to tell you, Tibbs, is, you get beat this bad. You don't, if this happens game 9, this is insider info. If this happens game 9, the coaches are going to review the film, but the players probably might not watch it because it's an outlier. You hope it's an outlier. You're going to assume it's an outlier, right? And the tough part about this happening in week 2 is you don't have a choice. You have to watch this film. You have to watch yourself run 15 offensive plays in the first half. You have to watch yourself consistently get tackles for losses on you. You have to watch these missed assignments. You have to fix these things because it's so early in the season. That's what you have on film, and that's what the rest of the league is going to watch when they watch you on film. And that's what they're going to try to do, right? And so, unfortunately, this is going to be a game that they have to stew on for a week, and they have to let it hurt, and they have to move on. And good football teams can do that. Decent football teams can do that. Not many decent football teams can come back from a 7-3-0. In my experience and opinion, can come back from that and really rebound well. But I think that's the positive you have in the culture of having 65, 63 guys back. You have most of your coaching staff back. I really do believe in this coaching staff, and I really think that this was an outlier. It just sucks how early in the season it happened. And I know that sounds odd, but it's true that you don't want to watch it, but you're going to have to.
Taking the scores out of it, going into this first bye week, we're right where we thought we were going to be, right? I mean, in all reality, we're 1-1. Do you think, though, that we've really learned what this team is, what their identity is offensively, defensively, and even special teams?
You know what? I think you have caught glimpses. I think that we are a similar team to last year in the sense of we want to run the ball. We want to get ahead of the sticks. We don't want to rely on our quarterback to make these heroic throws. And that's no shot at Aiden. I think that's just an offense that BV wants. And so I think in the sense of play calling and in the defensively and offensively, I think that's who you're going to see. We want to run a lot of man coverage on defense, which was a shock to me that they tried to do that against Alabama because it really burnt them many, many times. Now, you didn't get a ton of guys getting mossed or stuff, really highlight plays on that realm. You got them wide open, which is something I've been saying you need to fix, right? But I don't think you get a true understanding of the caliber of team. I think you get I think you've gotten a glimpse at what they want to be, but I don't think you've gotten a glimpse of who they could be as a football team, offensively or defensively. And I just hope that as they run forward here, that they believe that too, right? That they think, I hope that we look back and be like, man, that hurt, but that's not who we were. And we really, really competitive and we pushed the Sun Belt or we won the Sun Belt or something like that. But I guess to answer your full question back again, I think you've gotten glimpses, but I don't think you've gotten the full story quite yet.
I don't think we know who we are. And I say that because if you look at the first half, even of that St. Francis game, we were trying to throw the ball.
We were trying to throw the ball. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, but we're not very good at it.
No, we looked bad at it.
And okay, so we go to the run game. I'm by no means discounting Braylon McReynolds' 100-yard debut. He had 74 of those on one carry.
Yeah.
I don't know how effective and how efficient we really are at running the ball. I don't know what this team's offensive identity truly is. On the defensive side of the ball, I feel like when it's kind of the fair playing field, we're not playing a top 25 team and a pissed off top 25 team.
Yeah.
We're back to how we were in 2024 of the in your face, all out. It feels like 20 guys in the backfield, blitzing defense. That's great. Fantastic. We've also kind of shored up that secondary. People with like Perkins McAllister who have kind of shined early on. So I think that's kind of where our identity is. We're more defined on the defensive side than offensive side. On special teams, though, I don't think that we're as sure shot of PATs, field goals, as we've been in the past with Max Larson being out. Hopefully he's back for the UTEP game. Punting, we're still about the same on being able to get the kicks off there with Mackenzie Ryan and then him choke holding the returners coming back. But that really bothered me as a special teams guy that we could not effectively return a kickoff.
Yeah, I'll go with you as you went. I think offensively, you've got, what I hear, their top two receivers out. And so, you come out St. Francis. I agree. I said this, I said this to you after the game that I was really confused of why that was the play calling choice. Why did you come out trying to pass the ball? Because you felt like you could. But then after the third time you do it, you realize those corners are running with you stride for stride. So you're real concerned about that. So then you start running the ball, you wear them down eventually, which is arguably what you should have done from the beginning. But you were trying to be honest, maybe this might be causing a narrative, but you were trying to show off. Maybe you were trying to prove a point that you've got this really developed offense that you're really excited about. You talked about a lot, really highly about, and they come out and Aiden's taking a step. And Aiden, for the most part, I believe he made a poor choice against Bama, throwing a ball over the middle that was kind of a scramble, trying to make something happen that he should not have done. And I think he knows that, or he'll know that after he watches film today or tomorrow. But I agree with you that, last year, if you're taking the sense of we had an identity of run the ball because we had 22, you take him away and now we're trying to kind of open that up and it didn't quite work. And so now we've got to figure out what we really are. I completely agree with you there, but I think we've seen glimpses of who we want to be with the Alabama play calling of trying to get ahead of the sticks, trying to get that 3.5 yards of rush. Obviously, second downs really hurt. First downs, we were okay. I think our first down efficiency was probably fine. I haven't looked at those deep stats yet. But your second down was poor. Your third down obviously is poor because in your 3rd and 6 and trying to throw a ball and no separation, couldn't beat any man. If they ever played zone, which was super late, it wasn't. You were too rattled by then. I agree with you defensively. I think we know who we are. I think we got another stud. I really liked Carl Glass last year. I thought he was a really good player for us. And I think Perkins McAllister is really, to me, and I hope I don't ruffle any feathers by saying this, really to me the only Sunday talent I see on that team at the current moment. He flies around. He does well. He's got to, he kind of plays this, what do they call it? A star, right? And he's got to play this like safety linebacker type position, which is a tough sell in a lot of defenses, and he really shines with it. But, it can work really, really well. I think, you got Troy Reffett, who is a former defense coordinator there, and I talked to him before the game last night, and he's big on, he's like, dude, that's a guy. I had him at New Mexico. He's a guy. He really is somebody that, you've seen fly around. He flew around all game. He went out for probably a quarter, maybe a little bit less, and then came back with his hand wrapped up. So I hope he's doing well, and I'll keep us updated if I hear anything. But special teams, you're right, and we're media. Like, I like McKenzie, and I think the tackle's awesome, and I love he's Australian. He struggled with consistency last year with consistently punting the ball. He's got a really high ball, which is really helpful. But to watch all those penalties was brutal, dude. I mean, the second one was, it was iffy, but still at the same time, you have to create that bubble. And to me, that's a coaching thing. We're getting covering it fine. Okay. They didn't have any huge special teams plays. I mean, I think without I think without Larson, you have about 25 range of a field goal, and you have bad operation times, and it's a different game when you've got a kicker who you have on scholarship. And I didn't even think about the kick returns. I mean, obviously I thought about it in the moment, but you're right, dude. I mean, that's a red flag. That's a big signifier for a team that has some issues on special teams. And if you're going to be a team like who we want to be and who we have been in the past, that has to be something you hang your hat on and that you're foundational about as we move forward.
Told you special teams were people.
No, specialists aren't people. I Bleav that. Dude, you should
Special
see
teams
their
are people.
long snapper. He's got a great snap. I'm not saying anything about a snap. And he does his job well, and he gets down the field good, and I got nothing against him. He's just short. It really gets to me sometimes.
Whatever it takes to get on the field, Chase.
I'm proud of him, dude. That's a harder position than people know.
And then some. So this week, bye week, obviously, time to get right mentally, physically, game plan wise. Next up is UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
They get to kind of go into their own buzzsaw. They will be going to Texas.
Oof.
They're 30-point dogs to the Longhorns. Over under a 54.5. Anything you think that we can take away from this game that the Miners have at Texas, knowing that they just kind of came off of a pretty good show in there against UT Martin, but not necessarily a good opponent to know, hey, this guy has a lot of speed or anything like that when you're doing that FCS crossover game?
I mean, that's a tough question. If they get blown out and it's 45-0, it's 50-0, which is a blowout. I don't think you learn much. I think it's not likewise competition. And I think that you kind of got to take that with a grain of salt. Not that keep that close. And it's, to be honest, I hate saying this, it was the LSU Tech score. I think you learn a lot about who they could be. I'll be definitely watching the game to see who they want to be and kind of what their identity as a team. But I don't think in the modern day, I think you could, 10 years ago, Tibbs, I think you could take a lot from when these teams played each other. But with money and everything nowadays, I mean, this gap feels it's so wide that I don't know how much you really learn. It's like, okay, let's take UT Martin, right? A good FCS program, right? You agree?
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah.
Skyhawks.
Right. Does their competition learn anything from them playing UTEP? No, they don't. And so I think this gap is that wide now, and you kind of can know what defensive and offensive, positions they want to be in. You kind of learn who the numbers and what they're playing, and maybe a few blitzes and maybe a few plays. But at the end of the day, you're not going to know how good they are unless they go in there and slap Texas around, which good luck to them.
Well, the narrative last week when Texas was playing San Jose State was you saw him grimacing as he was throwing. So you knew something was wrong with kind of that 3/4 arm throw that he had, but then seeing his face where he's just kind of wincing with every throw, you never know what's going to happen with that.
True. And I thought, I wasn't huge on Arch, and I wish him the best, but I wasn't big on him. I thought he really struggled against ULM, against a team that really had some secondary struggles, and obviously struggled the first week. And I keep seeing the might be ass meme everywhere. I don't Bleav that. I think he'll be fine, but it's tough to deal with the amount of hype he had. But yeah, I mean, if he's healthy, it's still a dang good offense.
Other takeaways out of the first 2 weeks there, Chase?
I'm not hitting panic button. I really assumed you were going to ask me that question tonight. I am concerned about our defensive alignments. I'm concerned about our offense in general, minus the offensive line, which is a wild thing to say, but I really think that in our conference there'll be a competitive and good offensive line. I am impressed with the linebacking core we have and the way that they run around. I'm impressed with the safeties again, and losing. I know Wydett was such a big loss, but I am encouraged by who our defense can be. And I really wish this didn't happen. I wish they would have beat us 45-0, and we would have walked out of there saying that sucked, but at least it wasn't 73-0.
Yeah. Looking around the Sun Belt Conference overall, your friends at Marshall fell to FBS newcomer Missouri State.
Ugly.
You got to give them kudos for that. And we saw it last year. That's a tough place to kind of go play. And the fact that you're able to go your first time through in Conference USA to kind of the hostile environment, the place with all the tradition, knowing that they were also riled up because West Virginia lost to the Maction of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine that it kind of made it even a little bit more rowdy there at that game.
I'm sure it is. Marshall's a fun, really cool spot. I mean, I've talked so much crap about it, but at the end of the day, the traditions are cool. And I mean, when you come up to Sam Houston learned this lesson, right? They were powerhouses in FCS year in, year out, making it to semifinals, finals, winning championships. And they come to Conference USA and FBS, and they got one or two games. I mean, they just got slapped around. So good for Missouri State for coming in and getting that dub early.
Troy, you almost getting the game against Clemson there. They were leading 16-3 going into the midway point of third quarter, fall 27-16. Arkansas State was not really that close of a game. It was 56-14.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, though. Kick return against Arkansas to kind of rally the troops and get them on the board. So definitely exciting and definitely showcases, Chase. Special teams.
Special teams is important.
It's important.
That's the name of this podcast.
I was a little surprised that Coastal Carolina struggled as much as they did against Charleston Southern. But when you are constantly turning the ball over, their quarterback, MJ Morris, 3 interceptions in the game, you're not going to do well. But that defense for Coastal Carolina, and, we go there later on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. FBS, FCS matchup still held Charleston Southern 0-11 on third down conversions.
Wow. Good for them. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Coastal's changed a lot, especially the last few years, and I'm excited to go play them. I think that'll be a fun game for us. Or a boring ass game would be two defenses just hitting heads against each other.
There's our 4-2 game that we have.
Yeah.
That's it, Chase. What stories from the road do you have?
I got a good one. I'm glad we had Mike McGee on the podcast, good friend, and a great guy, great color commentator. Really, you listen to some of these games around the college football landscape, and a lot of those color commentators really suck. And he was driving. He drove the whole trip, 4.5 hours there, 4.5 back. We got back to the stadium, to Malone Stadium, about 4:30 in the morning. And anyways, this was on the way there. We left about 8 a.m. It's about 9 a.m. And I, knowing this would piss Mike McGee off, said, "Hey, Corey Crow, do you have your harmonica set on it?" And instead of answering, "Yeah, Chase, let's play later," he starts ripping the thing. There's 6 people in the car. He starts ripping the thing. And Mike damn near swerves off the road, starts screaming at him. Saying, threatening his life and telling him he has to walk the rest of the way. And it's a really, really fun group. And I've enjoyed it this is my 3rd year to do radio. And so it's always a pleasure to kind of get those, we argue about the dumbest shit going back and forth to those games. And so it's always funny when you get Corey Crow, who's going deaf, by the way, because he keeps screaming behind my ear in the truck the whole way there. When you get Corey and Mike getting at each other, it's always a lot of fun.
Absolutely amazing. Well, Chase, it was so much fun. We have plenty more content coming out this week.
Mm-hmm.
Always looking forward to it, bud, and ready for UTEP, man.
Yes, sir. I'll see you next time.